Okay, so change. Change is at the core of everything. Lao Tzu says that change is the only constant in the universe, okay? Without change, I promise you will write a screenplay that is so unbelievably boring and flat. It'll have all of the elements. You'll follow Sid Field to a T. You'll follow Robert McKee to a T. You'll have all of this plot involved in your story, and it'll fall absolutely flat, and it will not engage your audience emotionally. You must understand change to understand story. Change is so important. Change is at the very core of life, okay? And change has everything to do with flaw. So let me show you how this structures an entire screenplay, okay? So we've got Bill. We talked about Bill, okay? And he's an expert at math. He's a victim because he's ostracized. I don't know if I'm spelling that right. And he's a flaw. Flaw is self-hate. Okay? So he hates himself. Okay? That's the flaw. Right here. Flaw. Okay? Now, here's how change is going to structure your whole entire film. Okay? Change, we're going to look at flaw. And if he's self-hate, he's got extreme self-hate at the beginning of the film, he's probably borderline suicidal, right? Okay, so here's this guy, borderline suicidal, hates himself, doesn't think he has a reason to live, but he's a math genius. Okay? Well, by the end of the film, we know that we're going to come to the opposite of this. Okay? So it's going to be a coming of age film. He's going to know who he is. He's going to have a sense of security and peace about who he is, and he's going to have self-love. Like he's going to, maybe he'll even go over the edge and become like a megalomaniac. He's going to worship himself. Maybe he thinks he's a god. Like that's awesome. Like that's a ton of change, right? He goes from hating himself to thinking that he's God. Okay? That's a great character arc, okay? And that structures your whole entire film, okay? So we know at the end of the film, we're going to come to Bill, and in Act 3, we're going to have him, he's going to be a mathematician, he's going to have overcome the obstacles in the film, he's going to have solved some math problems, you know, he's going to crack some codes or whatever, you know, and then people are going to think that he's badass because he cracked codes and saved the world, whatever, and then they're going to like all look up to him and think he's awesome, and he's going to think he's awesome, right? And the flaw is going to be overcome. He's no longer going to be flawed in the sense that he hates himself. Now he's going to think he's totally awesome. He's going to worship himself, okay? And he's created a new flaw, and that's part 2, okay? That's another film, all right? The point is that he's changed. He's become the opposite of who he was at the beginning of the film, okay? You look at any feature film out there that's been successful, you're going to find this to be true, okay? You look at Schindler's List. Schindler at the beginning, he's a materialist. At the end, he's a humanitarian, right? At the end of the film. If we look at... if we look at, we'll have to use a cutaway right here. It's taking me a long time. Gran Torino. If we look at Gran Torino, for example, we've got Clint Eastwood at the beginning of the film, and he's cynical and he only cares about himself. At the end of the film, he's quite idealistic. And in fact, he gives his life for someone else because he no longer only cares about himself, he only cares about others. He's had that much change, right? You can always look at the beginning of the film and say, what's the flaw within this character? And you will be able to predict the end of the film, okay? Because that's what structures your entire screenplay, okay? Change. Change is absolutely critical. But the missing link here that we haven't talked about, this is super duper important, is the process of change. Because as Sid Field says, Act 2 creates the screenplay, right? Act 2 is the story, okay? That's the conflict. That's where it all happens. Okay. Well, Act 2 consists of the process of change. So without understanding process, things are going to kind of fall apart.